Greetings everybody, welcome to I Dream of Indie. My name's Ole Gamer Joe, and if it's your first time here at the channel, do consider hitting that subscribe button below to help us bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming. Today we're looking at bloodybunny the game on the Nintendo Switch. This game was developed by Quantum Peaks and Digital Innovation Design and Technology and published by DigiPen Game Studios. It will be available as of March 11th of 2021, and it's going to be priced at $9.99 here in North America. Alright, so bloodybunny the game is based on a web series that dates all the way back to 2008. I have to be honest, I was not familiar with that web series or anything about this character, so I went into this one with no real emotional attachment. Here's what I can tell you about the game storyline though. In bloodybunny, you play as a bunny doll, or really a person trapped inside of a doll's body who's on a quest for revenge. Bloodybunny is indeed angry not only that she is a doll, but also that her sister has been turned into a doll, and thus she sets out on a quest to destroy the creator that got them both into this mess in the first place. Bloodybunny the game could best be described as a third-person action game, though it does feature some puzzle elements accompanied by some fairly lackluster platforming. The general movement is of course done using the left stick, and Bunny can jump as well as dash, as her default movement speed does feel a little on the slow side. You'll use this dash quite a bit, and it can also be used while you're jumping in order to reach otherwise unreachable platforms. But that's probably not what you're interested in here, right? You want to know about the combat. Well, as far as that goes, you'll gain 4 different weapons pretty early on in bloodybunny. You have a hammer that can take out enemies with shields, your standard sword, which you'll utilize the majority of the game. You have a boomerang, which occasionally is used to solve some environmental puzzles and strike foes from a distance. And then you have knives, which can also hit enemies that are far away. The thing with that is, most of the AI clings to you like fleas on a bunny, so I rarely ended up using any of the long-distance weaponry. Bloodybunny does also have a few skills at her disposal. If you hold down the R button, you can use these, and you'll gain more the further you get into the game. You can also lock onto enemies and switch between them using the right stick, and of course you have what you're really looking for, right? Executions. If you really want to get crazy with things, you can try to master the parry system as well, which can be a little bit hard to pull off. You'll have to dash out of the way exactly when an enemy is about to swing at you. I suck at parrying. That was no different here. Last but not least, Bunny can enter a frenzied berserk mode of sorts if she fills up a bar that's underneath her health, and this will allow you to take out enemies pretty quickly. I would say the combat engine in this one is just merely adequate. I was not super impressed with it. I've played a lot of action games over the years, so I know what a good one feels like, and I know what an average one feels like, and this one's somewhere in that average to slightly below average range. Now, it is nice that you have 4 different weapons that you can cycle through, but they're really not all that necessary outside of the hammer, which can destroy shields. I didn't really utilize the boomerang all that often because, again, enemies were constantly grouping on top of me, and it's more or less the same story with the knives. You'll use them from time to time to solve a few environmental puzzles, but not that often, and that's really about it. Most of the combat involves slashing at an enemy and then dashing away, and slashing at an enemy and dashing away. Not a whole lot of strategy here. As mediocre as the combat is, the level design really isn't that much better. You do come across a few puzzles outside of rooms of enemies, and they're fairly obnoxious. They're not what I was looking for in a game like this. I just want to go out there and slash and kill things effectively, and I couldn't do that because an annoying puzzle would pop up from time to time, and they're really aggravating. Whether it's turning valves to stop flames and to progress forward, or pulling on statues, just silly stuff that I feel like didn't really belong in this game. It's sort of unnecessary, and it doesn't add anything whatsoever. In fact, it kills the pacing in a lot of cases. At the least, though, there is a little bit of exploration that can be done in bloodybunny. You might find a few collectibles that can be unlocked in the gallery for your viewing pleasure, but that's really about it, outside of some ramen noodles, which will add to your health bar. In between the 7 different worlds, with each world taking you about 30 to 40 minutes on average to complete, you can upgrade your skills in a hub area of sorts before you progress into the next stage. What you're really getting, though, is just a very basic action game that has a really cool aesthetic, which I'll get into in a minute, but that's the truth of it. It's just not that exciting of an action game. The camera is one of your biggest enemies because it can be really obnoxious at times, and you might not even be able to tell where the heck you are, particularly if you're pulling off an execution. But yeah, gameplay-wise, this one just kind of reminded me of an old PS2 game, but not in a nostalgic, cool way like Samurai Jack recently on the channel was. I just feel like it's sort of stuck in the past. The boss encounters are pretty predictable and not that exciting either. The main combat engine is not all that fluid, and the level design's not great either. Where bloodybunny the game does shine though is in its visual aesthetic, which I really enjoyed. I think the art style is quite impressive. I think the character design itself is really cool. I like the different enemies that you encounter, even though a lot of them do start to look the same. At least they'll throw some different patterns, and there's a slight variety to them. I can appreciate it. It's going for one particular art style, and it pulls that off effectively. I think fans of the animated series will be pretty impressed with how they've translated it to a game here. As far as the performance goes, it can be 60 frames per second from time to time. It's not always the case though, unfortunately. When you get into areas that have a little bit more going on, the frame rate seems to bog down and you'll get hit with some slowdown. So that's a little bit of a bummer as well, but performance isn't awful here. It's more that camera that I talked about earlier that gets in your way. Still, visuals are pretty good in this game. I would say that was the strong point here, because the sound effects really didn't stand out to me in any meaningful way, and none of the music really had any sort of impact either, outside of the title screen, which I thought had a cool song. There are some cutscenes throughout the game as well, which look like they're straight out of the animated series, so those were neat to see, having not seen the actual series before. I went back and tried to compare it and see what it looked like, and yeah, looked like they were straight from that, so that's kind of a nice touch for fans. I think they'll appreciate that. Bloodybunny the game is just really mediocre in a lot of ways. The combat engine isn't all that exciting. Some of the level design is just head-scratching. There are some platforming elements here that are extremely aggravating. I'm not sure how they got past playtesting. I could say the same for a lot of this game. I think it could have benefited from some further playtesting to get more fun out of it, because conceptually I like this character. I like the overall idea behind this game. I think they could have made a really cool action game. The polish level's just not quite there. I'm not completely upset with bloodybunny the game just because it does score some style points, but I'm not happy either. Thanks for watching the latest review from I Dream of Indie. We'd now like to take a moment to thank our great indie warriors: Mitchell Hall, Kevalo, Bunny, Bill Tikaz, Christian Cruz, Wesley Williams Semple, Kimberly H, Rosie Syntax, Chris Jackson, Nathan Moore, Peach. Thank you for all you do for independent content. Everybody else should head down to the description box below where there's a ton of ways to support I Dream of Indie. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you've yet to do so. We'll see you in the next video.